few years ago, the word trust kept coming up in all kinds of situations, conversations, workshops and trainings. And people said things like, oh, we can't trust management. They go left one day and right the other day. Or you really can't rely on people in production. They don't stick to their promises. Or we can't trust the people in sales because they keep agreeing on things with the customers that are not feasible. So you can't really rely on them. Or our expertise is not trusted. Or you can't trust that director. He always says things and then it turns out that he's only interested in his own gain and not in the best interest of the organisation. These are all statements where you see some kind of suspicion of trust not being there. But what is the elusive trust all about? So let's discover that. Today, we'll dive into the components of trust so you can build or rebuild your relationships based on trust. And in case you feel you've been let down by someone, you can also give them much clearer feedback than just say, I don't trust you, which usually is not very effective at all. Trust has two main branches, the character branch and the competency branch. So let's start with the character branch. So the character branch is all about integrity and intention. So if we look at integrity, this is about the sincerity, whether you're congruent, whether you say what you mean and mean what you say and act accordingly, that you're honest. And this is clearly something that we saw in the statement about management going left one day and right the other day, that there's a lack of consistency there. And then we've got the reliability. So can people count on you? Are you reliable? Do you stick to your promises? So the statement about production not doing as they promise clearly hints at a lack of reliability there. Then intention. So do you take other people's interests into consideration as well? Do you look at the organization's agenda, the team's agenda, the other people, team members' interests in a situation? Or do you have a hidden agenda and only care about what matters to you? So this is what the statement of the director, just looking after his own interests, was really focusing upon. Then we've got the competency branch. So this is where a specific area of expertise comes in. So for example, you might trust me to run your team workshop, but I highly doubt you ask me to operate on you and do an open heart surgery. I think my next door neighbour is way more equipped to do that. So this is really all about your capabilities and also about the track record you have. So the capabilities, do you have the resources, do you have the skills, do you have the knowledge to do that? And in terms of track records, can you actually prove that you've have some experience, that you've done something like it before? That can be very, very helpful. So if we look at the statements in terms of capability, the statements that we saw about the expertise not being trusted, this clearly hints at specific trust not being there in the capability area. Now, please note that intention is the crucial one here. It doesn't matter how competent someone is or how good of a track record someone has. If you do not believe that they have your best interest at heart, you're never going to trust them. So, bad intentions and do everything. Another important aspect to take into consideration, trust lies at the eye of the beholder. So it's not your judgment of whether you're trustworthy that matters, it's a judgment of the other person. Because we all have different backgrounds and life experience. Sometimes a good intention can be interpreted completely differently by someone else. And an example of that is, for example, you want to fast track your junior sales colleague's development and you tell her, oh, let me help you with that. And then the other person might read into that, oh gosh, she doesn't trust me to do my job at all. And here the judgment of the other person counts. So it might be good to share your intention here. How to use these insights into practice? Well, in case you've got a damaged relationship and it's really the other person that you don't trust, in that case, you can use the model to really pinpoint where the distrust comes from and then give very specific feedback on exactly what happened and why you distrust the person, and do not use the container of the word trust, but just pinpoint whether it's about competency, whether it's about reliability, and give them a specific feedback. And you can use some of the feedback giving videos to do that more accurately. In case you've noticed that you've damaged the relationship and that someone else might not trust you fully, then it's really important to stick to your promises. Also to highlight what your intention is. So for example, with the sales colleague, that you really say, hey, I want to really fast track your development. I think if we focus on this together, that will really help you take that next step. That will make that kind of comment come across much better and much clearer than if you just leave it like, hey, I want to help you, and people don't know why. So really focus on the different aspects and whether you can improve yourself. If you're looking for a quick way to read up on trust, I recommend the thin book of Trust by Charles Feldman or The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey. And the model I've just presented draws on insights from both books. The experiments. This week, whenever you don't trust someone, consider whether it's about integrity, intention, capabilities, or track record. Can you pinpoint where the distrust comes from? And can you give specific feedback to really strengthen that relationship? Good luck building relationships based on trust.